I'm going to talk about what to be thinking about when you're building your organization chart. And we're going to go through every department, and I'm going to give some pointers on how to construct different departments, what to consider, and what strategies to implement. First thing, before you even start with your organization chart, you really want to have an idea of what your goals are. The organization chart, the first technique in turning it into a strategy tool, making it an organizational strategy, is to have it be built for the future. So have it be a picture of where you're going, not where you are now, but where you're going. So have a sales goal in mind, somewhere between 2 and 3 years. I think anything beyond 3 years is a little hard to plan for. So think about 2, 3 years out, have a sales goal in mind, like 10 million, whatever your goal is. And then build the chart as a picture of that business doing 10 million in sales. So that's the first technique. Starting here at the top, this is, this box says, mine says owners. A lot of times it's called board of directors. So when you first got your TouchStone account, that was the name of this position, board of directors. This represents the owners. This represents you as the entrepreneur. This is you as the shareholder, the chairman of the board. And why this position itself and these titles are so important is because the mindset of you in that role is different than you in even the president's role, or especially down the president's line in any position down here, where you may still be required to do technical work. So keep this box. Sometimes people want to delete it because they think to themselves, well, I don't have a board of directors. Every business should have a board of directors, even if it's theoretical, because this is, again, you as the owner. And your objective as the owner, as the entrepreneur, is to maximize the value of the business. So you get dividends on your asset. That's your goal. It's not what you get paid or who's getting paid what or what the sales were today. All that managerial and technical work is important, but for you, this perspective is only how do we maximize the value of the business? And there's work to be done around that. So keep this position. Below owner, board of director is some kind of leadership position, president, general manager, CEO, whatever you want to call it. This is the position who takes direction from the board. So takes the vision, the strategic tactics, the goals, and implements those goals throughout the rest of the company. Underneath president, there's typically 3 main departments or results, really. There's sales and marketing, which is here. This is generating all of the leads and converting those leads. Then operations, service delivery, whatever your version of this is. This is the department that fulfills on the service or the product. Once something's sold, they deliver it. And then some kind of administration, finance department. So this whole department is like the support for the rest of the company. So depending on your industry, you may have multiple operations departments if you deliver a service and a product, or you do commercial and residential. So sometimes there'll be 4 boxes across this line, but typically these are the 3 results. So starting here from left to right, in your sales and marketing department, you want to consider how many leads you're going to need to generate and at what rate you're going to need to convert those leads in order to grow the business to the 10 million or whatever your goal is. Thinking about it that way, determine what type of lead generation positions do you need? Marketing assistant, marketing coordinator, advertising. This really seems like it's probably more here than it would be here. I think maybe I just moved that before. So think about lead generation, which would be these positions. How do your leads come in? What are the different activities that you want to implement and do over the next 2 years to bring those leads in? If you're going to grow your business any amount, word of mouth and referral is not going to be enough when you're proactively trying to grow in a controlled way. So think about what are these positions that are necessary for generating leads, and then who's going to convert those leads? So this department here. So imagine, sales and marketing is sometimes considered an art, but I think it's also a science in that you should be able to say, if you're going to invest a certain amount of money in advertising, what the expected result would be, how many qualified leads are generated, and then at what rate those leads will convert. All of what I'm saying requires processes, requires predictability. So requires a documented procedures, which is what you do in TouchStone. But that kind of formula, it will help guide you in deciding what your sales and marketing department needs to look like. Once you are generating leads and have positions for that, and you have positions for sales, then we talk about operations here in the middle. So all of the leads are coming now into operations to be delivered. Depending on what kind of industry you're in, you want to construct the positions that are going to fulfill or be able to follow through on that service delivery. Think about levels or areas. So here I've got like a senior technician. If you deal with warehouse or inventory, then an inventory position. Depending on what your industry is, that's going to dictate the names of these positions. An important thing to think about here in building an organization strategy is when those sales, all those new sales start coming in from the activities over here, how many positions and in what structure do you need to be fulfilling all of those new sales? So in a growing business, it's this constant juggling act between sales and marketing here and operations here. So you want to have enough sales that if you hire people here, you want to be able to pay them. You want to get them trained in enough time that when the new sales come, they're delivering in a satisfactory way. And then the opposite is true. If you build up this department here, get everybody ready to go, and then there's no sales, well, then you can't pay everybody. So you all understand this dynamic unless, you've had a bunch of startup money and haven't had to deal with this. But this up and down is always what you have to be thinking about when you're growing. This word scaling is thrown around a lot, and scaling a business is all about this. How are you going to grow your service or delivery or production abilities as well as grow your sales in a way that keeps you profitable? So an organization strategy really helps in this because you can see it from a position perspective. I can add up the money that it's going to cost me to hire a lead warehouse, for example, and I can put it into a budget or a spreadsheet and see when I hire this person, as well as everyone else, what do sales need to be in order to cover that salary? Because that's always the question. When I hire someone, I need them now, but in 6 months, when things get slow again, what am I going to do then? Another technique in an operations department is building levels like you're seeing here. So I've got an apprentice here, a lead tech here, and a senior here. So what this represents is I'm hiring people here, and depending on your industry and the skill set required, this could be a very low, not low level, but low qualification position. So maybe easy to find is another way to say it. And then you train that person, and when they're ready, they move here. Then they learn all the processes and are trained in the processes on this job description, and then they move up here. So right here, you've got all the processes identified, and as an apprentice, they need to demonstrate that they can do all those processes on this job description. When they're ready, they move here, and then they move here. This is called training from within, or developing your employees from within. It costs time and money to take someone from here and move them to here. The better your processes are, the better your training is, the quicker it's going to go. But there's really no way around it. If you look at this and you're saying to yourself, oh man, that's so much time and money, and how can I ever do that? There's no good way around it. You won't be able to scale your business unless you have the capacity to do this. What generally small business owners think is they can just go hire this person right here all the time. I'm going to go find that senior tech, and I'm going to fill them into this role, and I'm going to grow my business, and let's advertise for those people. Let's try to find those people. What that leaves you with are these questions like, or these issues like, I can't find someone like me, or no one can do it like this other guy, or there aren't good people out there, or the labor market is really horrible right now. So all of these yeah buts and issues come up when you're trying to look for this position right here. So think about this and use the organization chart to help you. What is your version of this? So you've got entry level here. They go to mid-level or lead, and then they go to senior. Add up the time. So how long would it take for you to move someone from here to here? And this could be done in other departments, like even sales. How long would it take to move someone from here to here? If you take that time and you add it up and you times it by what you're paying this person plus overhead, then you now have a number for that. So say it's a month and $10,000. Then go here. How long will it take a person to learn all of this? And this isn't an exact science, but even if you could do it 50% correctly, wouldn't that be better than what's happening now, maybe? Where rather than having a clear, methodical, planned out training, it's kind of just like this guy takes this guy around in his truck or his car and shows him what to do, which is, very problematic when you look at it for what it really is. So think about what your version of this is and plan it out. If you're the end result, if you do it, is that you can start to see the sales coming in here through generating of leads, converting of those leads, and then they're starting to come on to operations in more of a predictable way. So when do you need to hire this position to have enough time to get them here? And how much money are you going to need? Another reason to do this is because of, and this only pertains to certain types of business, but those of you who are in these industries will know what I'm talking about. This also really helps with cost of goods sold, because if mistakes are happening, if I thought I hired a senior person because he said he was so great, he had great experience, but then when I threw him on the job, he just messed stuff up, broke things, did it wrong, took twice as long to do it as what it was estimated for. Well, that's your cost of goods sold, and it's dwindling away. This is why at the end of a good quarter, you say to yourself, well, God, I made so much money this quarter. Wow. But there's no profits. The money, there's no money. You had the biggest sales month ever, yet no profits. And typically it's because of this. It's because of your cost of goods sold. And oddly enough, it doesn't matter how high your sales go. If you don't have your cost of goods sold under control, you're never going to make money. So yet another reason to start to think about training from within and having processes. Next department is admin, finance, human resources. There's not like a really great title for the head of this department. It really kind of depends on your industry. I like this position title. It's called Manager of Admin and Finance. It could also be General Manager, Office Manager. What happens in this department, this whole area, is support, basically. Support and information. So this department is supporting the rest of the company by making it easier for them to do their jobs, and it's providing information. The information comes in the form of technology, reporting from the bookkeeping system, evaluation. So there is bookkeeping that goes on here, finance work. There's HR. And you may not be big enough to have just a person doing HR, but this department should be doing human resources. So it's not just, recruiting and hiring, it's the policy side of that. It's the paperwork. A lot of businesses are starting to outsource their HR because they just find it to be less of a headache to try to do it on their own. If you have good processes, the HR stuff isn't hard. The issue I see with a lot of the outsourcing is that sometimes you're not getting qualified candidates that are qualified for the position, your company, and the positions that you want to fill. Make sure that you're vetting your own recruits that come in. You're interviewing, you're discussing those, you're having other higher level positions, meeting those people. The cost of a bad hire is so high. I mean, it's astronomical. Doing really good vetting of your employees, good recruiting and hiring is, mandatory. This scenario here also helps with that, because if I hire a new apprentice technician, I've taken them through my whole recruiting and hiring system, I hire them here, and I know that typically it would take a month for a competent person to learn those 6 processes or 10 processes. So usually that's how long it takes. Well, if this guy is not learning them as quickly, messing things up, it's taking him twice as long, well, I can cut my losses before I've moved him here and here and suffered all the other issues. Also here in admin finance is your finance and accounting, really important. just for the mere fact alone that your entire business needs reports to be able to operate effectively. If you're, what I was saying over here about generating leads and converting them, well, if you don't have a good CRM system and good accounting, you're never going to be able to tell anyone what your conversion rate is. You're never going to be able to say, was it profitable, that 10 grand I spent on social media? You'll never be able to say what the leads cost, which then leads you to the situation of never being able to plan this accurately either, because you can't control what's coming in and the rate it's coming in. Also, here in operations or service delivery, measuring productivity is essential. So when I'm talking about like learning processes here and then moving here and then moving here, or the cost of goods sold scenario, you need to have productivity reports, some kind of evaluation. So the manager up here knows how long it's taking people to do things. To the degree that this department here is not functioning correctly, is to the same degree that all these people over here aren't income generating. So all of these positions over here are generating income. This is the support. You minimize the support, you lessen the other departments or people's ability to generate the revenue. Think about these things in your own factors in building your chart. When you attempt to build your organization strategy, really try to get rid of like people and personalities and who's doing what now. And just draw a blank in your mind and imagine that you're building this business new. Nothing bad's going to happen by doing that. Just let go of the people and personalities, even if it's someone you're related to. Just shut that door and think, how, if I was to build this business anew, how would you do it? Think about the sales and marketing, the operations. Think about the 10 million. How many positions do you need? What would the structure be? Does it make sense for one person or one position to be managing another? Do you have correct managerial levels like here? I think that statistics say that a manager cannot possibly manage more than 10 people well. I think it's more like 6, but that is a known organizational strategy principle. So if you have a operations manager here, and that person is managing everyone in the whole department, it's like 20 people. There's no way that they can be effectively managed. Think about the numbers of people managing, one person managing another. Also consider if you've got the number of positions that are going to allow you to remain profitable, adding up the salaries of all of these positions or the hourly rates, and then putting it into a spreadsheet and then seeing what your sales need to be in order for you to still be profitable when all these positions are full. Once you've built your chart for the future, you've kind of analyzed the profitability of it, then is the time to lay over the current situation. So you take all your people that exist now and you start filling their names in boxes. So that's how you marry the future with the present situation. It really works well in small business, but this is exactly what efficiency experts do when they're merging companies. And I used to do that, so I know a little bit about it. This is exactly what they do. They build a correct organization chart that is profitable, and then they lay the people over it. They say, who's doing what now? And sometimes there are redundant positions. I'm not saying that's going to happen to you, but these are the things you learn when you take your current situation, which might be a bit of a mess, and you lay it over a structure that works. Some of the things that might happen. One, you may see that you have more than one manager, more than one person filling a managerial role. You may have yourself. So let's say you're the president, and then you have a sales and marketing manager, but that person is so like overwhelmed with sales themselves down here and doing other things that they're really not being the manager. So you kind of fill in sometimes as the manager. And if you asked your people down here, who's your manager, they don't know. It's either you or this guy. So if you have a situation like that, use this as an opportunity to pull that person out of that role and put yourself back in it. So it's better for one person to fill multiple roles than to have another employee filling a role that they're not capable of or not ready for. Laying the future with the present might cause you to make some rearrangements with what people are doing now. Don't be afraid to make those bold moves, because it's, you'll work through it with the employee. The issues that it's causing now aren't worth it. Take that person out of this role, put yourself in it, explain that you're going to work on the procedures for this position, and you're going to work on the procedures for these positions too. And then you'll open that position back up. So make sure that one person's name in each box. Another thing to look out for is the multitasker, or the person in your company that can do everything. It's like your indispensable employee, like the one that just everybody goes to for everything. Everybody's got one. And why that person is so indispensable is because you probably hired them to maybe be this position, but then they got called over from sales, so they're doing some of that. And then the warehouse needed them, so then they're doing some work here. And then they're also doing some customer support. And then they might even be managing some people when you don't have time. So they're all over the place. And it's probably because they're really good at it all. It's called a people-dependent situation, where the person is the role, not the person doesn't fill that role. So the future with the present chart will help you work on correcting that, because that person who is your everything person, it could be multiple people, they probably don't like their job. It's very stressful doing that. You're jumping all around, everybody needs something, you sit down to like get your work done, and like 50,000 things happen, and before you know it's the end of the day and you're like, oh my God, what happened? They're stressed out all the time. So this is like a new day for that kind of situation. So you take that person's name and you put them in the boxes for the work they're doing, maybe here, and then this role, and then this role. Fill their names in the boxes for what they're truly doing. And then maybe for the first time, they're going to start to see all that they're accountable for, because it'll be enormous if they're filling like 4 boxes on your org chart. Then you can see it for what it is, and then slowly start to make a plan to get out of it. If they are doing the bookkeeping and they're also the operations manager, or they're IT support and they're also a salesperson, formulate a plan to document the processes for those roles and then hire someone else into that position. TouchStone is great for that, because even that person can help you document those processes. One thing you really want to try to tackle with marrying the future with the present is when people are spanning the organization chart. So what I mean is they're doing a little bit of work in sales and marketing, some work in operations, some work in admin finance. They're spanning the organization chart with the work that they do. It's very inefficient. The mindset that it takes to get these results is way different than what it takes to get these results. And if you've got a person jumping around from result to result, it's very, very, very inefficient. In my opinion, all they're doing is firefighting all day long, and nothing productive is getting done. Use that maybe as an opportunity to readjust people's roles. If you can, put that person back just in this department and make sure that the work they were doing over here is going to get done by someone else. And oftentimes there are people there that could do it. It's just this person and you have said, oh no, you do it, because you have confidence that they'll do it right. Delegate it to someone else. Delegate that work to the people that it belongs to, and then hold them accountable for doing it. That's my long-winded explanation of organization strategy. But you can hopefully see how, if you turn your perspective about this and think about it as a tool to analyze, to strategize, to see accountabilities in a different way, to see managerial relationships in a different way, it can sometimes help you take a chaotic situation and make it more organized. None of this is 100%. None of this is going to work perfectly, but it's better to have some kind of way to approach it that you can count on, and then something to come back to and refer to.